Mr. Speaker, honorable members of this House, I rise to make my contribution on this highly politicized document referred to as the budget. Sir, I see that this document is crafted under the theme, A Better Guyana for All Guyanese. For a moment, I was considering what action the APNU might take for acute plagiarism, but we allow it to pass. Listening, reading, and assessing budget speech of 2014 by Honorable Dr. Ashni Kumar Singh, one cannot help but describing it as a repair and maintenance schedule. Sir, it is not a developmental plan, nor is it something to aid solving problems for the masses, but some. You see, Mr. Speaker, the government comes to this House and shout about largest budget ever, over 200 billion. But the greatest worry is, despite the larger input, we are not getting value for money. In some cases, we cannot see where the money is going, and the sufferers are only the nation's children. Mr. Speaker, Budget 2014 is a spend and hope budget. There is no certainty about the effectiveness of the education program. This is evident, having looked at what was supposed to have been done in 2013 and its preceding years. We hope that the government can get serious. Mr. Speaker, I shall elaborate on the various aspects as I proceed with my presentation. A lot of money is spent on infrastructure in this ministry. Yet the outcome and outlook is dismal. And I will come to that later on. Sir, if we were to do an assessment of what we got from the large sum that was budgeted in the 2013 budget, we will see that the real beneficiaries are not the nation's children. You are talking about a few. I am talking about the masses, sir. The education sector. Mr. Speaker, page 38, para 470 of the budget speech speaks to the new education strategic plan for 2014-2018. Sir, strategic plans are nothing new. So don't let it sound like an innovation, Madam Minister, but it is the outcome from what you put in. Sir, let me ask two questions on enriching our young people. One, with the establishment of technical schools in regions 3 and 5, for example, Why haven't they been adequately staffed and programs worked out? Development in education is not to provide buildings alone. Your programs and resources must complement each other so that you can measure your input. To come to this honorable House, Mr. Speaker, and speak of a few achievements is not good enough, Madam Minister. Secondly, sir, of what benefit graduating from the Tech Fox schools in the world of work? The students of the Leonora School, for example, are getting the royal runaround to get their certificates, even if after they graduate. Sir, when we look at the program performance statements for education delivery at page 208 of volume 2, and under the impact, it says, I quote, ensure that the education system within the region produced human resources with the appropriate knowledge, skills, and attitude to meet their own personal development and the social, economic, and technological needs. Oh, Mr. Speaker, words with no reality. How appropriate has that training been to the graduates? Did it actually satisfy our hospitality industries? Sir, a careful look must be taken and an analysis done, and corrective action must be taken. Infrastructure of schools. Today, in this honorable House, there can be no vacillation by any minister. Today, no minister can say, well, I am dealing with policy, and it is somebody else's job to deal with infrastructure. Again, at page 38, para 471, the Honorable Minister of Finance wrote, and I quote, a sum of 2.7 billion was spent on the infrastructure of schools and other facilities, unquote. Mr. Speaker, in 2014, 2.9 billion is allocated for this purpose. Sir, what did we get in 2013? In 2013, we had the pupils of Santa Rosa Primary, for example, fetching water for daily use, cleaning school, and spending a lot of time out of the formal learning situation. We had fetching wood in Cato and spending a lot of time out of the formal learning situation. In Region 8, Mr. Speaker, over $438 million was budgeted for education for 2013. And Chinapao, Tusanang, among other schools, do not have proper furniture. Teachers' quarters have 2 VSOs from the United Kingdom, do not have any furniture. The toilet and bathroom not working. We are dealing with infrastructure of these schools. There is no light because they don't have batteries. Solar is dysfunctional. Can somebody tell me what has happened to the $438 million for education in region number 8? Sir, Ministers Manikchand, Whitaker, and former Minister Ganga Prasad must tell us where the money has gone. Can this PPPC government tell me whether discrimination is at work? Can this government tell this National Assembly whether it is because Region number 8 is under the political leadership of the AFC that they are stifling the people of that region? Well, Mr. Speaker, I have news for the PPPC. They will not get back the leadership of Region number 8. Rather, they have more to lose than to gain. We have the children of the Northwest Secondary School all over the place for extended periods where their secondary school should have been completed within a given time frame. Hence, children are spending a lot of time outside of the formal education system. A few days ago, Mr. Speaker, an officer of the Central Ministry was rushed in from Georgetown to Maburumo to settle issues of electricity before the budget, to get the school board of the school, to get the children to go into the building. But I hope that an accurate report has come back because the board has rejected it. They are demanding proper completion before their children can occupy the school.
That's right.
We had protest action in Port Kaitumo for non-functional toilet facilities, and hence children were out of their classrooms for long period. Sir, we have total neglect of the Liberty Primary School in the Pomeroon River, causing non-delivery of education for long periods. Mr. Speaker, education in the Lower Pomeroon is totally neglected. Why should this be so? How do we expect the children in those communities performing well in the education sector when their school time is utilized doing chores? Sir, I do not wish to go on to chronicle more examples in other regions, but to tell the government that the 2.7 billion you took to do the very projects you named in 2013, some of which I named a few moments ago, the monies apparently went into thin air, or further, I say not. As the lawyers will say, I rest my case. In 2014, you asked for more. We don't know if it will suffer the same fate, but I believe so. But sir, the underlying fact is, how does the government intend to ensure equal access to quality education? Equal access, I repeat, to quality education for all children and young people of the region, when it is normal for this government to neglect and not monitor certain communities. I listened to the Honorable Minister a short while ago, who was outlining projects in region number 5. I come from region number 5.
That's right.
I come from a village called the Edward Village, next door to Cotton Tree, Honorable Minister. And if you hear yourself naming those areas, the developmental works will be taken care of. It is a ratio of 10 to 1. I believe, Mr. Speaker, that the Honorable Minister should examine those areas and see how well this government is doing with discrimination. Universal secondary education. The initiative of achieving universal secondary education is a welcoming one. Sir, giving a political commentary on universal secondary education is not achieving it. The program must be minutely worked out and monitored. This is not only about buildings, Madam Minister, but also about what we put in the buildings. What resources do we make available for these secondary schools to be functional? Mr. Speaker, Honorable Juan Echil, my good friend, says that this government has achieved 100% universal secondary education. Well, sir, if that is not laughable, what is? Take IT labs, for example. The IT labs being spoken about. How useful will it be to have these labs and no teachers? Sir, when I speak, I like to give references. Who would not welcome IT labs? The opposition certainly welcome IT labs. Who would not welcome being computer literate? Who would not welcome advanced technology? But we of the APNU cannot sit idly by and allow the incompetencies of this government to prevail. Right across in region number 3, Mr. Speaker, at the Parika Salem Secondary School, the IT lab is not functional. I will only give a few examples. Right across in region 3, and here we're not going far in the interior, you know. In region 3 at Potentia, the computers for the IT lab have been declared obsolete. There is defective electricity. How could the obsolete computers and defective electricity make IT labs functional? APNU demands functional computers. You in government, you find it. And the services therewith to be useful, especially when hard-earned cash is involved. The budget says that in 2014, they will train 2,500 teachers. I ask the question, where and what numbers for each entity? Sir, this is not about plucking out figures out of thin air, but you must work towards achieving your objective. The end results matter. We spend and we must achieve, and the beneficiaries must be the nation's children. I now turn to tertiary education. At page 40, para 476, the Honorable Minister wrote that 1.4 billion is allocated towards the operation of both university campuses. Mr. Speaker, isn't that ridiculous? The University of Guyana cannot pay their electricity bills. They don't have proper chalkboards. They have poor toilet facilities. You will open at a university at Milo. And inadequate furniture. What a shame, Mr. Speaker, in our only major tertiary facility in the capital. The government can't provide proper facilities, but finds the money to spend on unimportant projects, Madam Gail. Honorable member, the 2013 budget gave an allocation of 1.7 billion for the University of Guyana, and the river of wars flooded that institution. So now 2014 budget further reduced it to 1.4 billion. It behoves me to question why this government wants to stifle our young people. We saw a glaring example of what happened to the Critchlow Labor College. As a matter of fact, what this government is doing to Critchlow is only for political gains. But let me warn that there can be no gain when a desperate effort is made to stifle our young people, an asset which we should be proud of to invest in. I don't need it, Mr. Ben. It is because this government is unwilling to make valuable investment in young people. And that has caused us not to have the kind of human resources necessary to cope with our education system. I call on this PPPC minority government to value the worth of our young people and step up to the plate. Starving the University of Guyana of funds is so evident. Could you imagine the announcement that the applications for the University of Guyana will have to be made online? But those of us who keep our feet on the ground, Mr. Edgell, honorable member, can tell you better. One senior lecturer, for example, who has to monitor applications from applicants for 5 schools in Region 6, has found it very impracticable on the quarantine, since 4 out of the 5 schools do not have internet facilities or access to the internet. I would like to propose to the government the things of this nature are done in phases. While you introduce online applications, and that is a good thing, and programs, the original facilities must still prevail so that those who do not have internet access will not be deprived of that opportunity. I cry shame on the education sector of this government, for if that situation is so dismal in the coastal regions, what would it be in the hinterland, riverine, and other remote communities? Following on from the government's neglect for our young people, I wish to now turn my attention to TVET, Technical Vocational Education Training. That's a good thing. That's a good thing. Mr. Speaker, at page 39, para 475, referred to TVET skills linked with entrepreneurship training is an assured option for enabling their ability. Sir, on this score, I wish to point out the following. Right here in this honorable house, I spoke of preparing our young people on the TVET program to deliver in the hospitality and manufacturing industries. I would think that this call has fallen on deaf ears, or that this government has no care for the applicability of the type of training for our young people. Take, for example, the technical school again at Leonora. This school offers only one-year programs, but the ministry has not taken time off to do an assessment of the program content. It has not considered whether or not the skills of the young people of that institution are marketable and can subscribe to the industries established in the country. You know, this government likes to say that they put up buildings, so they gloat about that, but never works out the purpose, suitability, and how they can aid development of this country. Let me take you again right across to Region 3, where Minister Irfan Ali lives, and MP Ganga Prasad, Yalba, you know you lose the walk as minister way there. So you ain't got minister before your name, how sad. At the Namsel, where there is a plot of land there marked for agri-science. A building is on that land. Only one name few. Can't call all of them name, you know. Someone is paid as head of that center and seconded to the Stewartville Secondary School. But nothing goes on at that agri-practical instruction center. Is it wasting money or lack of the necessary managerial skills? Tell me. Secondly, earlier I alluded to what has been referred to in the budget speech about universal secondary education. This is a clear case of monkey see, monkey do by this government. We have people with varying abilities. We hear announcements of no more primary tops. We hear no more community high schools. We hear of all the schools being made secondary or high schools to achieve this universal secondary education. Lyndon Forbes Sampson Burnham was a classic politician. Educated, not like you know,
Yes, sorry.
I really find that the inference to a member of the House as being uneducated is really unacceptable. Please, could it be withdrawn?
Well, I don't know. I didn't hear. I heard a statement not like you, but I didn't hear a name following it.
That's right.
Well, we saw where she looked.
And I must confess that I thought it might have been referring to, because the debate is addressed to the speaker, so I thought that she was referring to me. And
Oh, well, if
but
she's
I
referring to
didn't
you,
feel
it's all right.
slighted, actually. I don't think that I could have
Mr.
stood in Mr.
Speaker,
Boreham's shoes, so I'm all right.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, but you know, if Miss Honorable Member Mr. Shearer doesn't get up, maybe she wanted a little bit of relaxation. But I repeat, sir, that Lyndon Forbes Sampson Burnham was a classic politician. Educated, innovative, and had his ears to the ground. He had the ability to fulfill the needs of his people. During the PNC era, we did not have community high schools because we wanted show. We knew that it was necessary because of the varying abilities and attitudes and we took that into consideration. I call on this PPPC government to shake off the disease and put on clean clothes. Finally, on TVET, sir, there are only TVET facilities in regions 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 10. What is wrong with the youths of regions 1, 7, 8, and 9?
Technical vocational, I think, is what TVEC is.
Yes.
On that note, member, your time is up. You'll need an extension of 15 minutes, please, to continue.
Mr. Speaker, I ask that the honorable member be given 15 minutes to continue.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. APNU has called for the establishment of technical schools in those regions, but it is not happening. Only last Sunday, I was in region number 7, and the people there are calling for technical schools in their region. They believe that their young people too must be given equal opportunities, and rightly so. I again call on this government to recognize the importance of the development of our treasured resources, the young people of Guyana. I now turn my attention to the $10,000 per child program. Mr. Speaker, I was entertained when the Honorable Minister of Education referred to the growth in Guyana, but she asked a very pertinent question. Is your life better than before? Yes, it is. Well, Mr. Speaker, the people living in this country stands as testimony. Yes, Mr. Speaker. Better life because you have more homeless people. The beneficiaries are farmers who cannot be paid for their paddy in a timely fashion. The inability of this government to adequately provide the hot meal for our children, particularly for schools in the interior location. My colleague, Ms. Donna Hastings, since 2013 budget made reference to it. It continues. Providing the uniforms and payment to those women who prepared those uniforms. Mr. Speaker, those are testimonies of the better life that the Guyanese people are enjoying in this country. Mr. Speaker, as one writer puts it, that is the $10,000 per child grant. This is an attempt to hoodwink the general population. Ludicrous, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we all like money. And the PPP knows that liking money story more than us. And surely the parents of our children would welcome this money. But sir, let me point out the following. One, this government has gotten this country into a depressing situation that any little pittance parents will use to fill a hole for survival. The budget says under education grants at page 75, para 621, that this money will be provided for this year. A child traveling from West Coast Babees to a school in New Amsterdam via the Barbies River Bridge must pay no less than $1,000 per child. So this $10,000, Mr. Speaker, is for 2 weeks. What happens to the other 50 weeks in the year? And how does it aid raising attendance rates? We want continuity. APNU considers this a blatant example of electioneering as opposed to sustainable development, and worse yet, in the education sector. Doesn't this government consider the disposable income of teachers and parents or workers generally? Sir, the government has been trumpeting the record of economic growth and sound fiscal management. Then I ask, why is this disposable income of teachers cannot be significantly upgraded? And why is it that cannot be reduced to ease the economic squeeze of the very parents of school-age children? Mr. Speaker, our parents of the school-age children need more than the $10,000 per year. It cannot suffice. Finally, on this matter, sir, a one-off input cannot work. I urge the government to not only embrace the C word, as in corruption, but to do so as in continuity. Finally, on this, sir, we of APNU believe that providing boats for our riverine children and buses for our coastlanders would be more helpful to the children of our community. Sir, I now turn to access to education. The Learning Channel. Mr. Speaker, at page 74, para 6 education grants, I quote, government has already made significant investments in the education sector seeking to ensure universal access and to raise both quality and delivery attainment rates, unquote. Of concern to APNU is the access to education and education for all Guyanese. Sir, this House is aware that exorbitant sums of money are spent on the Learning Channel. Did somebody say $3 million per month, Mr. Speaker? When money is invested, we expect to get the returns for it. But here is what the practical situation for the Learning Channel regarding some regions. And this is a report from the regions. Region 1. Only Mabaruma gets the channel, and it is not seen clearly. Region 7 has been available for over a year when it was functional. Only one community received the channel. Region 8, no access to learning channels, and where there might be, it is really not accessible because there is no electricity in the days, only in the night. So shame come at Prime Minister. Region 9, Anai, Aranaputa, and Quatamang are the only receivers, but Anai receives for only preschool or early childhood ones. 11 areas in the North Savannas do not receive because of some reason or the other, TV antennas, electricity, etc. The Letem station, same as in the North and Central Savannas. And I'm sure that my colleague, Mr. Sidney Alicock, who made reference to the Learning Channel, will attest to it. What access is there for the so-called delivery of education via the Learning Channel? Are we not entitled to be the beneficiaries of taxpayers' dollars? Or is that friends and families of the government are entitled to construct their pants with long pockets, Mr. Speaker? This government must answer for this. Mr. Speaker, via notice paper 203, I recall the opposition chief whip, Amna Ali, asked the Minister of Education some questions on the Learning Channel. That is, areas in regions 1, 7, 8, and 9 that are reached by the Learning Channel, as well as the program guide. I did not want to question the minister's ability to monitor what I want, to let this assembly know that by your own actions, you demonstrate your capabilities. Sir, the answer tendered for the program guide was turbulently rude. I asked for the guide to be furnished to the National Assembly, and minister tells me, oh, it is on the channel 35 to 50 times per day. Mr. Speaker, I am sorry. You can't blame me if the minister is deeply challenged in her ministry and can't give proper answers which this House is entitled to give. Finally, on the question of this learning channel, the minister must also tell the National Assembly why a transmitter is in Karasabay, but the materials for the construction of the tower still at Anai for a year and over since 2013 budget. Mr. Speaker, I wish to urge the government to embrace the C word as in commitment and discard the C word as in corruption. Improving literacy rates, teacher training. Mr. Speaker,
I'm hearing it very well.
improving literacy rates is hinged to a crucial factor on investments in our people. And to invest in our people, there is need to have a direct input in our school system. Opportunities must be created so that our teachers can be upgraded. Our teachers must be exposed to the upgraded measures in our school system. Careful thought is not exercised in the program content and the time allotment to implement the program. In my last budget presentation, I forewarned about numbers or how many were trained, but the quality of training, the exposure to learning resources, and constant upgrading, they are vital components on investment in our people. Learn a little, mister. Learn a little in our people for enhanced production. In terms of improving literacy rates, which has a link to the quality of our teachers, I wish to posit the following. For teachers training, the academic requirements for the intake of teachers to training should not be reduced. If there is a shortage, relevant upgrading courses must precede the actual training program. In many of our schools and the general improvement in math and science program, a heavy financial input was made in 2013. CDs were provided as aids to work along, but these CDs have incorrect answers. Hence, it can be of no help to the students. Sir, I have an example right here. And if the Honorable Minister is savvy in maths, she can listen to them or ask BB for help. As a result, both the teachers and students are rejecting them. Mr. Speaker, I charge that the education sector has falling standards and careless monitoring. Managing and management is crucial, Mr. Speaker. I myself, being always a teacher, wish to advise the Honorable Minister that pumping monies in a fifth form can't work. Repeatedly, I advise, fix the foundation or the top will collapse. And sir, that is what is happening. Spend the money in the primary section, improving our teachers' skills, program content, provide materials and human resources, and make the education system work
Honourable Member, you have 5 minutes with Mr.
Yes,
Rapper, please.
thank you, Mr. Speaker. Was the investment that is being put in? Feel the impact, Mr. Speaker. Finally, the Education Strategic Plan, 2008-2013. Mr. Speaker, in 2013, 28.5 million was expended towards the final year of the 2008-2013 strategic plan. And now, sir, 32.3 billion has been allocated towards the implementation of the first year of our new education strategic plan. I will explain to you what is a strategic plan, Mr. Kumar. The paper of 2008-2013 framework and intent of this strategic plan has been well put theoretically. I wish to posit that examining the mission statement of this plan, eliminating illiteracy, modernizing education, and strengthening tolerance, we have to question the implementation of that plan. Yes, we have a printed document called the Strategic Plan 2008-2013. But how do we expect that this National Assembly can properly do an assessment of what is achieved and the extent of its successes? An important document called the Education Digest, which should consist reports and evaluation. Its latest edition, to my knowledge, is 2011. How could you, or what could be used to justify the amount of money spent for the final year of 2013 of the strategic plan? How often is this digest expected to be produced? And why has it not been produced? Up to date, 2013. Last edition, 2011. 2 years ago, including 2013, nothing. Mr. Speaker, let us take a look at what should have been achieved in the National Strategic Plan. And because of time, I will only earmark a few examples because I have already mentioned some of the areas earlier. Where is the link between the Ministry of Education and the Ministry of Youth, Sports and Culture when continuously it is reported about 30 sports grounds in a whole country of over 1,000 schools? Some schools don't even have yard space for the children to play. What is the quality of the remediation program? You think sports ground mean killing goats at the stadium? To improve the literacy rate in the education sector. And what is the outcome of the resources plowed in for this program? The health and family life education outlined in this plan, sir, speaks of enhancing literacy. But where are the libraries and librarians? Why is it there aren't adequate workbooks yet? Well, the latest thing is a textbook was recently redone, and it was clear that to the ministry if it was new or revised. Sir, 2014-2018 strategic plan is hibernating. Months ago, opposition members Amna Ali and Cassius were promised it, but the budget came and will go. And that strategic plan, which money is budgeted for in this 2014